So I talked about, several months ago, there was a video where I talked about feeding alfalfa and does it make your horse hot. And so I've got two things to say about that. One is that got like 3,000 views in 2 days or something like that. Right around the same time, I did a video about how the horse's eye works, and it's been several months and it's only got 1,500 views. And so there's where your all's problem is. If you're having a problem with horsemanship, is because you're more concerned about feeding alfalfa than you are about how their eye works. You need to focus more on what the real problem is. So that was one thing. That's just a rant. That's just me bitching at the kind people that watch me and appreciate me and stuff. So sorry, I have to do it sometimes. But the other thing about feeding, so part of this process, and we just did a little trailer loading thing, and whether these videos go in conjunction or not doesn't matter. But part of what we're doing today is we're going to get some more feed for these horses. So these horses are eating coastal hay, which essentially is just filler. There's salt in it. There's not a ton of nutrition in coastal hay. There's hardly any carbohydrates, there's hardly any protein, there's hardly any fat. It's essentially just fillers. They need to be constantly eating because that's how their guts work, just like ours. And so what I'm feeding them for their actual nutrition is alfalfa cubes, alfalfa pellets. Back to alfalfa. I love alfalfa. We're in South Texas. I can't just go get it for the asking like I could in Nevada. Here it's a little more complicated, so we got to do it in cube form. It's not my favorite way to feed, but it's what we got to do. But we're still with alfalfa. Anyway, through this whole process of being new here and this and that and the other, and having to call around, where am I supposed to go get this? What do I do? How do I get it? Yada, yada, yada. Who do I charge it to? I was talking to the boss, and he said, hey, if you want to switch feeds on them, that's all right, just run it by me. But if you want to feed them like a horse feed, like a feed, you can do that. We just don't, because we don't want to get them real hot and this and that. And I said, okay, well, no, I'm happy with what we're doing right now. Fine, kind of left it at that. But it got me to thinking about this and maybe what I should have said. And so for right now, I've got yearlings and 2-year-olds. I don't want to feed them a really high fat, really high sugar, really high carbohydrate diet. I want to just feed them protein, 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 which is what I'm getting out of that alfalfa. And the reason why I don't care about them being hot, this or that or the other, it's I can grow them too fast if I get them on those carbohydrates and on that sugar. I can grow them too fast. It's hard on their guts. It's hard on their joints. They're a monogastric animal. Their gastrointestinal system is almost identical to ours, so think about that. If you live on Twinkies and ramen noodles, you're going to feel bad. You're not going to be healthy, and you're going to have a lot of top-end energy, but you're going to have zero low-end energy, meaning 20 minutes into your workout, 5 minutes into your workout, you're going to lose all your energy and not be able to keep up. You're not going to get enough oxygen in your blood, enough oxygen in your muscles, yada, yada, yada. All those things. So the same things that are bad for us are bad for them. And as small growing animals, if I jack them up on carbohydrates and sugar, I'm gonna hurt them. They're gonna grow too fast. They're gonna hurt themselves. Their joints aren't gonna work. That's one of the main problems that I see in the horse industry now, is people overfeed them. And like Ray Hunt was always saying, well, they're overfed and underrode. Well, they're just overfed, whether they're underrode or not. They're all overfed, or the majority of them. Fat's beautiful on a horse. I love a horse to be fat, but I want them to grow first. I don't want to overgrow them. So I want to keep them on just a high protein diet with some fat, and and not feed them a bunch of high-powered stuff and get them growing too fast and injuring themselves through that. Later on, like, you know, I've showed some horses a little bit, taken a few to the snaffle bit. You know, the months, the 3, 4, 5 months before the snaffle bit maturity, those horses I've taken, they're eating 6, 8 pounds of corn a day because I want them hot, I want them snappy, I want them going and blowing and breathing like a dragon. That's how I like a horse to be if I'm going to show it. But heck, they're 3 years old by then, and they're so fit and they're grown. I'm not really doing any harm. If I start doing that to these babies and feeding them like that, all I'm going to do is break stuff. Just break things. And I've worked for horse outfits that did feed too much hot stuff like that, and that's what we had. We had things break all the time. It's terrible, and like this actually haunts me to this day. But one of those places that fed too high-powered stuff, too much sugar, too much carbohydrates. There were some yearlings just like these. I was sorting them in an alley and just in and buying them, and one just ran past me, and she was 10 feet away, and she just kind of jumped to kick as she ran past, broke her leg off. Like, no pressure, I didn't have my hands on her, I wasn't anywhere near her. She jumped and kicked and broke her leg, and I mean off, like that. Those are the kinds of things, those are the kind of injuries you get if you start feeding lots of sugar and lots of carbohydrates at this age. So I want to keep them on high protein, some fat, and then that coastal filler. That's awesome. But it's just something to think about. If you're really feeding these young horses, you're going to break stuff.
Thank you so much to the Patreon crew. You guys are the reason we're able to do this and do the extra things and really do all the YouTube videos too. We wouldn't be able to make it work without you guys. So thank you so much. And any of the rest of you can jump on and watch any of these extra kind of things that we do on Patreon and see what's going on there. So check that out if you can.